I found out why we can never save money despite making 200K combined. My wife hasn't been bad at math. She has been paying the rent for her struggling brother's apartment for 4 years behind my back. The sound of my 2013 Civic cranking over, a high-pitched, wheezing struggle, was the soundtrack to my morning anxiety. "Come on," I whispered, gripping the steering wheel. "Don't die on me now, not until the bonus comes in." The engine finally caught, rattling violently before settling into a concerning hum. I sighed and leaned back. I made $110,000 a year as a project manager. My wife Sarah made $90,000 in marketing. On paper, we were a power couple. We brought in $200,000 a year combined. We should have been maxing out our 401ks, driving reliable cars, and saving for a down payment on a house in the suburbs. Instead, I was praying my car started, and I was eating a peanut butter sandwich for lunch because our checking account was sitting at $412 until Friday. I walked back inside to grab my coffee. Sarah was at the kitchen island, looking effortlessly put together, scrolling on her phone. "The car is making that noise again," I said, pouring the cheap store-brand coffee we'd switched to last month. "Babe, we really need to sit down and look at the budget this weekend. I don't understand where the money is going. We earn too much to be this broke." Sarah sighed, putting her phone down with a dramatic huff. She gave me that look, the one that made me feel like a micromanager. "Mark, please, not before work. You know how math stresses me out. I get all the numbers jumbled in my head." "It's not advanced calculus, Sarah. It's addition and subtraction," I said, trying to keep my voice gentle. "We spent $6,000 last month on miscellaneous. What is that?" "It's inflation, Mark," she snapped, grabbing her purse. "Groceries are double, gas is up, I handle the bills, I make sure the lights stay on, and honestly, it's hurtful that you don't trust me. I'm doing the best I can with rising costs." She kissed me on the cheek, but it felt cold. "Stop worrying, we're fine, you're just paranoid." I watched her leave. I felt guilty. She did handle the bills. Maybe I was just out of touch with how expensive the world had become. The unraveling happened 3 days later, on a Tuesday evening. Sarah was in the shower. I was in the living room trying to fix the wobbly leg of our coffee table because we couldn't afford a new one. Sarah's phone was sitting on the arm of the sofa. It buzzed. Then it buzzed again, then a third time, long and insistent. I usually respected her privacy, but the rapid-fire vibration made me think it was an emergency. Her mom had been sick recently. I wiped the sawdust off my hands and picked it up. The screen lit up with a preview of a text message. It wasn't her mom. It was her brother, Mike. "Mike, dude, landlord is literally at the door." "Mike, you said you sent it yesterday." "Mike, transfer it now or I'm out on the street." I frowned. Mike was 32 years old. He worked, or claimed to work, as a freelance brand consultant. My wife always told me Mike was getting by and living a humble life in the city. I hesitated, then unlocked the phone. I knew her passcode. It was our anniversary. I opened the text thread. It wasn't just today. I scrolled up, and up, and up. "Last month. Need $1,800 for rent plus $200 for utilities. Thanks, sis." 2 months ago. "Car broke down. Need $600. Also, rent is due." 6 months ago. "Can you spot me for the trip to Cabo? I'll pay you back when the client pays me." There were no paid back messages, only requests. Demands, actually. My heart hammered against my ribs. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from a cold, rising fury. I switched apps and opened our banking app, the one Sarah always kept logged into on her phone because she forgot passwords. I bypassed the summary screen and went straight to the transaction search. I typed Mike. The screen populated instantly. "Transfer to Mike, negative $2,000. Yesterday, pending. Transfer to Mike, negative $1,850, October 1st. Transfer to Mike, negative $1,900, September 1st. I felt like I was going to throw up. I sat on the couch and pulled out my own laptop. I needed a bigger screen. I logged into the bank, filtered the search, and downloaded the CSV file for the last 4 years. I highlighted the column and clicked Sum. $87,450. I stared at the number. $87,000. That was a down payment on a house. That was a new car. That was the vacation we never took. That was the inflation she blamed. That was the reason I was eating peanut butter sandwiches. I wasn't done. I opened Instagram and searched for Mike's profile. Sarah had said he was struggling. I scrolled through his feed. 3 days ago, a photo of him holding a $200 bottle of tequila at a club. Caption, living the good life. Last month, front row seats at an NBA game. 2 months ago, a picture of a brand new gaming PC setup that easily cost $3,000. He wasn't struggling. He was living like a king on my salary, while I lived like a pauper. The bathroom door opened. A cloud of steam rolled out, followed by Sarah, wrapped in a towel, humming a tune. "Did you fix the table?" she asked cheerfully, drying her hair. I didn't look up from the laptop. "No." "What are you doing?" she asked, sensing the shift in the air. I turned the laptop around to face her. The spreadsheet was on the screen, the sum highlighted in bright yellow. Next to it, I had propped up her phone, open to the text chain where Mike was demanding his rent. Sarah froze. The color drained from her face so fast she looked like a ghost. "I found out the inflation, Sarah. It's not the economy, it's your brother." "Mark, wait, you don't understand. He's going through a hard time. He's family." 4 years? He's been going through a hard time for 4 years while he buys floor seats and tequila? "I was going to tell you," she cried, tears instantly welling up, "but I knew you'd say no. You're so obsessed with saving money, you don't understand how hard it is for him." "I'm obsessed with saving money because we never have any," I shouted, the dam finally breaking. "I drive a car that shakes when I turn the key. I worry about buying coffee. And you've given him $90,000 behind my back?" "I handled it," she screamed back. "It's my money too." "And you lied about it every single day," I said. "You looked me in the eye when I talked about being stressed, and you lied. You told me you were bad at math. You aren't bad at math, Sarah. You're just a thief." "Don't call me that," she sobbed. "That's what this is," I said, grabbing my keys. "We are done talking." "Where are you going?" she panicked, rushing toward me. "Mark, don't leave. We can fix this. He's just in a slump. He's going to pay us back." I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I didn't know this person at all. "I'm going to a hotel," I said, opening the door. "Don't wait up and tell Mike his rent is officially his problem."
I spent the night at a Motel 6. It was fitting, really. Even in the midst of the biggest crisis of my life, I couldn't bring myself to book the Marriott. The habit of poverty was hard to break. When I woke up, my phone was at 4% battery. I plugged it in and watched the notifications flood the screen like a tsunami. 30 missed calls, 45 texts. They weren't apologies. Mother-in-law: "Sarah is hysterical. I can't believe you would abandon your wife over money. You know how sensitive she is." Father-in-law: "Be a man, Mark. You don't air family laundry. Come home and fix this." Sarah: "I can't pay the electric bill. You locked the account? How could you?" I hadn't locked the account yet, but I was about to. I drove straight to the bank as soon as they opened. I sat down with a personal banker, a woman named Joyce, who looked at me with pity as I explained the situation. "I need to remove myself from the joint account," I said, "and I need to open a personal checking account where my direct deposit will go starting today." "We can't remove you from the joint account without her signature if there's an overdraft risk," Joyce explained gently. "But we can freeze the savings, and you can open a new solo account right now." "Do it," I said, "and transfer half of whatever is left in the joint savings to the new one." Joyce clicked away. "Sir, the joint savings balance is $400. I stared at her. "There should be $10,000 in there. We put our tax return in there 2 months ago." Joyce turned to the screen. a transfer from 3 weeks ago, one time $9,500, Zelle transfer, Mike. I felt a cold numbness spread through my chest. That money was for a new transmission for my car. Mike had taken it. Sarah had given it to him. I left the bank with a new account, a new debit card, and a lawyer's business card that Joyce had discreetly slid across the desk. 2 days later, I agreed to meet Sarah at the apartment. I brought a witness, my friend Dave, who was a literal accountant. I wasn't doing this emotionally anymore. I was doing this mathematically. When we walked in, it wasn't just Sarah. Her parents were there, sitting on the couch like a tribunal. Sarah was crying into a tissue. "You brought an outsider?" Her father, Bob, spat, gesturing at Dave. "I brought an auditor," I said, dropping a thick binder on the wobbly coffee table, because apparently nobody in this family knows how to count. "Mark, please," Sarah sobbed. "You're humiliating me." "You humiliated me for 4 years, Sarah. I found the tax return money, Sarah, the transmission money. You gave it to Mike." "He was in debt to some bad people," Sarah cried. "They were going to hurt him." "He went to Coachella that weekend, Sarah. Look, here he is in the VIP tent. Does that look like a man running from loan sharks?" Her mother, Linda, stood up, her face red. "So what? He's her brother. You make plenty of money, Mark. Why are you so greedy? You have a roof over your head. Why do you need to hoard it while family suffers?" "I drive a 2013 Civic that stalls at red lights." I gestured wildly. "I haven't bought new clothes in 2 years. I am not hoarding money. I am being robbed." "This is financial abuse," Linda hissed. "You cutting her off like this." The audacity took my breath away. I said, my voice dropping to a low steel tone, "I am not paying another cent. Sarah, you have 2 choices. 1, you get a second job, and Mike starts paying us back $2,000 a month until the debt is settled. You cut him off completely until then." Sarah looked at her parents, then at me. I can't ask him to do that. He's fragile." "Then choice 2, I said. "We sell the apartment lease, we split the debt, and we divorce." "You're bluffing," Bob scoffed. "You're not going to divorce your wife over a few bucks." "It's $90,000, Bob," Dave chimed in from the corner. "That's not a few bucks. That's grand larceny." We left. Sarah didn't agree to the terms. She just cried and said I was being cruel. For a week, silence. I stayed at Dave's guest room. I directed my paycheck to my new account. I paid my half of the rent and utilities directly to the landlord and utility company, bypassing Sarah completely. I thought maybe, just maybe, the reality was sinking in for her. I thought maybe she was realizing that Mike was the villain, not me. Then, on a Friday afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was an email from Credit Karma. "Alert, new hard inquiry on your Equifax report. Bank of America Platinum Credit Card." Bank of America Platinum Credit Card. Application. I froze. I didn't apply for a card. I called the fraud line immediately. "Hello, this is Mark. I just got an alert. I didn't apply for this." "Okay, let me check," the operator said. "It looks like the application came from your home IP address about 10 minutes ago. It listed your wife as an authorized user." The floor dropped from under me. She couldn't access my new bank account. She couldn't get money from me directly, so she tried to open a credit line in my name to keep the cash flowing to Mike. This wasn't just being bad with money. This was fraud. She wasn't my partner. She was a parasite protecting its host. I thanked the operator and canceled the application. Then I dialed the number on the business card Joyce had given me at the bank. "Hello," a woman's voice answered. "Steinberg Family Law." "Hi," I said, staring out the window at my rusted car. "I need to file for divorce, and I need to file a report for identity theft." "Against who, sir?" "My wife."
The divorce mediation took place in a sterile conference room with glass walls. Sarah sat on one side, flanked by her mother, Linda, who looked like she had sucked on a lemon. I sat on the other side with my lawyer, Steinberg. Sarah looked tired. Her designer clothes were wrinkled. She wasn't used to managing bills without my income. My client is requesting spousal support, her lawyer began. She has become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Steinberg laughed. Actually laughed. He slid a stack of papers across the table. Your client has committed dissipation of marital assets to the tune of $96,000, Steinberg said, and she attempted identity fraud against my client post-separation. Here is the police report number. We are happy to drop the criminal charges if she waives all claims to spousal support and assumes 100% of the credit card debt she racked up. Sarah looked at her lawyer, panicked. But I can't afford the cards. The minimum payments are... That's because you spent the money on a third party who is not a dependent, Steinberg cut in. The law doesn't care about your brother's lifestyle, Mrs. Sarah. It cares that you stole family funds. Her lawyer leaned in and whispered something to her. Sarah's face crumpled. Linda tried to interrupt, squawking about fairness, but Steinberg shut her down with a glare. Unless you want to co-sign her debt, ma'am, I suggest you let the lawyers talk. Linda went silent. In the end, I got off clean. I kept my 401k, I kept my personal savings. She took the debt. As we walked out to the parking lot, Sarah ran up to me. Mark, she said, her voice trembling, please, I made a mistake. Mike got evicted. He's sleeping on my couch. It's a nightmare. He eats all my food. He doesn't clean. I didn't know he was like this. I stopped and looked at her. You did know. You just didn't have to live with the consequences because I was paying for them. I miss you, she whispered. I miss us. You miss my paycheck, Sarah, I said, unlocking my car door. Good luck with Mike. He's your family. You wanted to support him? Now you can. I drove away and didn't look back. 6 months later, I sat on the patio of my new townhouse. It wasn't a mansion, but it was mine. The evening sun was hitting the trees, turning them gold. My phone buzzed. I opened my banking app. Direct deposit plus $3,800. I swiped to the savings tab. The number was green, healthy and growing, $28,000. I had bought a new car, a Toyota Camry, nothing flashy, but it started every single time I turned the key. It had heated seats. It smelled like new leather. I didn't stress when the check engine light came on. I just took it to the shop. The peace was intoxicating. The doorbell rang. I walked inside, past the new furniture I had picked out, sturdy, comfortable stuff, and opened the door. It was Elena. We'd been dating for 2 months. She was a nurse. On our first date, when the check came, she had slapped her card down before I could even reach for my wallet. I got this one, she had said. You get the next one. Hey, Elena smiled, holding up a bottle of wine and a grocery bag. I saw steaks were on sale, so I grabbed 2, and I Venmo'd you for the movie tickets last night. You didn't have to do that, I said, leaning in to kiss her. I know, she said, walking past me into the kitchen, but fair is fair. I closed the door and leaned against it for a second, just breathing. My phone buzzed again. A text from a blocked number. It went to the spam folder, but I saw the preview. Unknown. Mark, please pick up. Mike stole my laptop. I don't know what to do. Mom won't help. I looked at the message. I felt a twinge of pity, a ghost of the old guilt. But then I looked at Elena in the kitchen, laughing as she tried to find a corkscrew. I looked at my peaceful home. I looked at the lack of a knot in my stomach. I deleted the message. Need help with those steaks? I called out. Yeah, Elena shouted back. Come earn your keep. I smiled and walked into the kitchen. The numbers finally added up.